Let's draw a jellyfish in Procreate. You can draw this jellyfish in Procreate by just following this tutorial and using the brushes that are already in Procreate. I will guide you through all the steps. And be sure to share your result on Instagram as soon as you're finished following this tutorial. Tag me in the image and maybe we'll see your artwork in the next You Can Draw This video. This is a much requested video, so let's get started. First, our canvas. It's 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. And I've also made a color palette, so if you want to use the exact same colors I'm using in this video, then you can just download the color palette for free through the link in the description. We'll start with this very dark blue color, and we will fill our canvas with it. You can do that by just dragging the circle onto your canvas. When you go to your layer palette here, by clicking that two squares, you can see that layer 1 is filled with the blue color. And now we are going to make a new layer on top of this one. Just click the plus and here's layer 2. And on this one, we will start drawing our jellyfish. Let's zoom out just a little bit. I always like to see where the edges of the canvas are. We are going to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. And let's grab this light blue color. And we are going to make that top part of the jellyfish. And I have my brush size set to around 50%. And if you tend to make a bit wobbly lines, then you can just turn on streamline. And that will make your lines very smooth. So let's start about here and make that kind of like a hood shaped top part of the jellyfish. And we can fill it again by dragging that circle into your shape. And you can also just adjust this shape by going to the magic wand and then use liquify. And you can just push parts of your jellyfish around to adjust that shape a little bit. Till you have something that looks similar to this. And remember, you can always look up reference photos of jellyfish to get inspiration on your jellyfish shape. We are going to make a nice and glowy jellyfish here. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer. You can do that by swiping to the left on your layer and then click duplicate. Now we have 2 of these layers. And I'm going to lower the opacity of the top layer. Well, let's first turn off that lower layer by clicking that check mark. We'll lower the opacity to 60%. And we'll lower the opacity of that lower layer as well to 50%. And now we will use liquify on this layer. So that's the one below. So we'll go to liquify again. Then we'll push part of this lower jellyfish body. We'll push that down a little bit. So you're looking at that inside of that jellyfish body right here. And not too much, just a little bit. Now let's go back to our layers and make a new layer on top. So we'll click the plus, make sure that you select your top layer, then click the plus, and we'll set this layer to color dodge. And we'll grab our airbrush. We are going to add a first layer of glow to our jellyfish. By using the soft brush, we'll set the brush size to 70% and the opacity is at 40%. And now let's add some glow to our jellyfish. Let's use that blue color for that. That's the second color in the color palette. And let's go over the top here. Using very little pressure. And let's add some more glow to that center. A little bit on the outside. And we can also switch to this lighter blue. And add even more glow to that top part right here. Like this. For our next step, we are going to add some details to this, well, hood kind of thing. It's the body of the jellyfish, I guess. We'll go to the luminance brushes and we'll use the light brush. And let's pick, well, let's just keep it at this light blue color. We'll start with this layer, well, the lowest layer. And we'll go around the edges right here, adding little bumps. And you can see that because the layer opacity is low, you can see that the effect of this brush is pretty subtle. And that's fine, because that way we can slowly build up these details on our jellyfish. Just making some bumps. So in this stage, we can decide where these bumps should be without making them very obvious. And let's also make some lines that move towards that center of its head. And make sure that they follow that shape, that roundness of the jellyfish's body. So these are a little bit curved. Just some curvy lines. And now that we have laid down this base for our details, we can make a new layer on top of this. And since the opacity is 100% on this layer, the effect will be way more visible. Let me show you. We'll go over this and you can see that the brush is a lot lighter right now. So we can build up that light a bit more. And again, I use very little pressure on my pen. I'll also follow these lines. Add a little bit more light there, following that curve. Let's add some light on this outer edge here. Perhaps on this side as well. And for the next step, we'll do the same thing for that layer in front. So first, let's click that layer and use the same brush with the same settings. Size is 8%. And let's again make some of these bumps. Just following the same process as on the other layer. And again, following that curve of the jellyfish's body. for this part of the jellyfish's body, I would like to add some pink details, some pink splotches. We'll make a new layer for that, and we'll also use another brush. We'll go to the painting brushes and use the wet acrylic. And we'll use this bright pink color. And we'll add some details, some bright spots to our jellyfish. That will make it look a lot more interesting. I'm making upward strokes, following that shape of its body, making it a little bit rounded. Also making a line here. So making upward strokes and little lines in between. And let's also make some lines here on top. Now, this pattern is getting affected by that glow. So let's move it on top of that glow so we can get a brighter pink. You can just hold and drag your layer to move it on top. So I don't want that light to affect this pattern, because that glow is coming from the inside of that jellyfish and this pattern is on the outside. So it will block that light a little bit. Just make some wobbly lines, a nice wobbly pattern and some dots. Quite a lot of people ask me what kind of iPad I use, and I'm using a pretty old iPad. It's from 2017 and it's an iPad Pro. So if you were wondering, here's your answer. And a first generation Apple Pencil. Oh, and I'm not using a screen protector. It's just a screen. And I've been using my iPad for over 2 years now. And, or is it 3? Yeah, 2 years. I've been using it for over 2 years and I don't have a single scratch on it. So you might like to use a screen protector that has kind of a paper texture if that's something that you enjoy. If you enjoy the feeling of a pencil on paper. But I like the smooth feeling of the screen, so I don't need a screen protector. Oh, and if you tend to drop your iPad or bump it into places, then a screen protector might be a good idea as well. Let's add some glow on top of this layer, just like we did with layer 5 here that added that glow to that back part. Let's do that here as well. So we'll make a new layer by clicking the plus and then going back to the light brush. And I'll keep it at this bright pink color. Set the brush to 10%. And let's just add a little bit of light to this layer. Not too much. We don't want to lose that pink. Just some light touches. Next step, let's give this jellyfish some tentacles. We'll do that on a layer that's between that foreground body part and the background. So that will be here on top of layer 5 and beneath layer 2. We'll click the plus there and we'll grab another brush. We'll grab the bamboo brush. You can find it under organic. And let's grab this bright blue. And we are going to draw some tentacles. We'll start here at the top and inside of the body and make a wobbly line all the way down here. And then we'll go back up with our wobbly line. And you can just paint it in or you can fill it. Let's just paint it. You can give it some extra wobblies. By making some of these circular motions. Until this tentacle is entirely filled. And we'll make another tentacle next to it. Again, we'll make a wobbly line. So if wobbly lines are your thing, then you'll like this part. Wobble ahead until you're back on top and then fill it. All the way to the tip. There, that's a nice wobbly tentacle. And I want to make more tentacles, but I want them to be in the back. So we'll make a new layer below these tentacles. So click layer 5 again, then click plus, and let's make more tentacles here. I'll pick this dark blue so we can see where we're drawing. We'll make wobbles again. Let's go down. And back up, and then fill it. So we have a wobbly tentacle here. And let's make another one, a thin one that's going in this direction. We'll fill it again. All right, now I want to get rid of this top part here. So I'll go back to these light tentacles, click the layer, and then select mask. Now if we paint on the mask with black, we will mask a part of this layer. We'll do that by using the soft brush under airbrushing. I have it set to black, and then when you paint over this top part, you can see it fade. Now it looks like it's more merged with that body of this jellyfish. And next, we will adjust the colors of these tentacles. We'll do that by clicking the layer again, and now we will select alpha lock, so we can only paint on the pixels that are already there. I'll stay with the soft brush and then first let's use this dark blue for the top part. Let's add some blue here. And then we'll switch to this purple. For these tips. And then we'll switch to that pink. I'll make the brush a bit smaller. I'll go to 12%. And let's make these tips bright pink. And let's lighten up this area just a little bit. I'll grab that light blue, because that will be affected by that inside glow. And I would also like to add some texture to these tentacles, and we'll do that by using a spray paint, the Flicks. First let me grab this dark blue. Let's set the brush to 16%. And let's add some flicks. And we'll do the same thing with this bright pink to add some interesting texture. And what I'd like to do now is blur these tentacles just slightly. But what we need to do is turn off alpha lock first, because if we have alpha lock turned on, then we can blur it. So click the layer and click alpha lock to turn it off. Now we'll go to the magic wand, select Gaussian blur, and swipe your pen or finger to the right to blur it just slightly. I'm going for, well, let's go for 2%. And we'll repeat the process for the tentacles in the back. We'll click it and select alpha lock so we can only paint on the tentacles. Our paint won't show up outside of those tentacles. And we'll go to the soft brush under airbrushing again. Let's make these tips nice and pink. We'll add some of that purple, just play around with the colors. You can also make a jellyfish in your own colors. I would love to see that. Let's add some bright blue at the top. And let's add some texture to these tentacles as well. So we'll go back to spray paints, and use flicks. I'll grab this blue, this second color again first. And then I'll use the bright pink to add some flicks to the bottom part. And again, we'll use a blur. So we'll have to turn off alpha lock again by clicking the layer and then click alpha lock to turn it off. And then we'll go to the magic wand and Gaussian blur. And we'll blur these tentacles just a bit more because they are more towards the back. Let's go for 3%. This jellyfish, it wants more tentacles. So let's give him that. First, we'll start with some tentacles that are behind these big tentacles. I'm not even sure if they're called tentacles, but I'll just call them tentacles. Click layer 5 again and make a new layer on top of that one. So click the plus and let's grab the light pen, which you can find under luminance. And we'll use this blue color. And we are going to make tentacles, and we'll use these bumps as a base from where the tentacle will grow. I have the brush set to 55%. And let's first make one growing from here. Just make some flowing lines. And because these tentacles are more towards the back, further away from the viewer, I would like to blur these just like we blurred those bigger tentacles. So we'll go to the magic wand again, select Gaussian blur and just slightly blur these tentacles. So I'll go for 4%. And I want to adjust the color of these tentacles as well. So we'll use alpha lock again. Click the layer, then click alpha lock, And we can use the soft brush under airbrushing again to add some color to these tentacles. I'll add some of this bright pink to the bottom part of the tentacles. And I'll use that bright blue for the top part. And now we'll add more tentacles to that front side. So we need to make a new layer on top of these big tentacles so that these small tentacles will be in front of these. So click layer 8 with the big tentacles and then click plus to make a new layer. We'll use the luminance brush again, the light pen, and that bright blue color. And let's make some more tentacles. Make flowing motions. And we can do the same thing that we just did. We can slightly blur it, not too much in this case because they are more in front of the others. Not just more in front, they are in front of the others. So let's just do 1.1%. And again, use alpha lock so we can color these tentacles. I want to make the top blue again. Let's grab the soft brush under airbrushing. I want to make the top blue. So just go over those parts. And the bottom part will be pink again. Our jellyfish is almost finished. Let's just add a little bit more glow. We'll do that with a new layer on top of all the others. So make sure that you go to the top layer, click the plus, and we'll set this layer to add. And we'll grab the soft brush. Well, we already have it. We'll use the soft brush and let's pick this bright blue color to add some more glow. Let's make our brush nice and big. Let's go for 35%. And our opacity is still at 40%. And let's slowly build up some glow in the center of our jellyfish. And if you feel like the effect is too bright, you can just go to your layer, click the A, and turn down the opacity to get a more subtle glow. And there's your glowy jellyfish. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, then you might like these two videos as well. I'm looking forward to seeing your jellyfish.